When you stand in front of me and look at me, what do you know of the griefs that are in me, and what do I know of yours? And if I were to cast myself down before you and weep and tell you, what more would you know about me than you know about hell? When somebody tells you it is hot and dreadful. For that reason alone, we human beings ought to stand before one another as reverently, as reflectively, as lovingly as we would before the entrance to hell. Well, that is Franz Kafka. Hello beautiful people of the internet, welcome to Kitaabi Cabins. Mera naam Charu hai, and I stand with Franz Kafka on this idea of love and kindness. Today I want to talk about this entire hate that reading culture is going through, and I want to talk about how Instagram has ruined reading for you, how this entire wave of hot girl books or classifying books into certain genres has ruined the entire experience of reading for all of you. This term hot girlification of books might sound a little unusual, but it is essentially about the way of reading and how it is rebranded as something which caters more to the aesthetics and the looks of reading as a hobby rather than reading about the books that you're actually interested in. This trend is closely related to the rise of Bookstagram and book communities where readers, predominantly women, are showing their love for reading, where the entire emphasis is more on the visual aspects of it rather than the book themselves. About the trends in the society, ये चीज़ें हमेशा से रही हैं, but when it comes to books, it makes it into something that is an aspirational activity. Becoming a reader is more aspirational than the process of reading itself, which comes down to just a projection of your image out in the world. How did the entire hot girl genre started? So basically it started as something which was a social capital for all of the books which reflected the sadness in women. Sadness of women is such a persistent idea that hot girl books came out as an entire genre in itself. And you must think, why does it matter? Because एक तरीके से Bookstagram and book communities, all of them are just trying to incorporate or encourage the entire reading community. But there lies the paradox in this entire cultural movement, where on one hand that they are trying to celebrate and make reading inclusive for everybody, but the major thing this entire trend has done is romanticization of the entire genre of reading. And when you are romanticizing this idea, you are making books lie into categories where the classical books are perhaps put above the fantasy or romance or fiction wala entire genre, which just creates an elitist barrier between the readers of the society. And it is not a new idea. It has been deeply rooted in our history, where the entire access to education and books and reading has been to a wealthy and an elitist class. Even owning these resources of libraries and engaging yourself in intellectual discourse is a mark of status, and it has been there since ages. And even aaj ke date pe bhi, if you see, there are certain kind of genres, be it classical or if we are talking about the superficial or hierarchy of books that the hot girl internet genre has put books into it. This just ends up creating more hate and elitist values in people, because there are certain kind of literature which are valued more than the other, and if you are reading that kind of genre, you would be valued more as a person. Whereas reading in the first place for the Bookstagram and the entire booktube community was created for making everything inclusive to everybody. And this exact same thing is happening with this entire wave of Colin Hoover hate thing going on. I mean, is she not writing basic Wattpad fiction? जो मेरे को लगता है not every reader, this has existed through times and times. सबके अपने अपने phase आ चुके हैं. It's just getting hated upon because people want to fulfill their ego एक तरीके से. And this entire hate जो culminate होते जा रहा है धीरे धीरे करके कि ये चीज़ अच्छी नहीं है, people are looking down upon a certain things, ये entire reading को as a hobby खराब कर रही है चीज़ें. If not about the intrinsic value of the books, ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ extrinsic value पे depend कर रहा है. You need to be perceived a certain way, you read this book, and you want to be perceived a certain way, you read this book. But what about why you wanted to read it at the first place? Even while reading the book, ये constant चीज़ चली रहती है दिमाग में कि do I like this book, do I not like this book? A critical analysis है which is not for yourself but perhaps for the entire world, how witty of a response can you make out of this book, which is extremely toxic as a reader, क्योंकि ये चीज़ आपके पूरे रीडिंग एक्सपीरियंस को ही मार देगी. I wish reading was embraced as it was एक वक्त पे, क्योंकि be it Colin Hoover, be it Chetan Bhagat, many of the readers came into reading via these books. These books have been page turners and easy to read for everybody. And this entire hate, this entire judgment and the entire toxicity around us is just not nice. Be kind to everybody. जिसको जो पढ़ना है पढ़ने दीजिए. And अपना ego भी satisfy करके इसमें कि you are reading certain kind of books is a not good way to approach reading, or even for being in this community where there are so many other people who have been so kind and nice to everybody. I think this was it for this video. Thank you for tuning into this discussion, and if you have any thoughts regarding the same, I would love to hear them in the comment section down below. Thank you for being here, thank you for being kind, and I will see you next time.